soon. It can all be worth it, all the searching. Pain is never really permanent, but damn it hurts, man. I could feel all of the turbulence and it's concerning.
The spinning rod dilemma.
It's worth it. This society is really trying me. Ain't no hide and seek, I hide to be far from anxiety. I need my space, I need my privacy. I need some silence, please, you're all too
y'all know
loud.
me. Y'all know I make fun of the spinning rod a lot. Like, I give a lot of people a hard time about the spinning rod because I think it's funny. Like, because they get offended, right? Guys that use spinning rods get offended a lot that we make fun of it. And I've always made fun of it. I really do. Do I throw one? Yeah, I really do. I throw one probably more than you think. The difference is I just don't rely on it in the sense of I don't rely on it day in and day out. I use it differently. I use it when the time presents itself, or if certain techniques, right? You can go a lot of different ways on a spinning rod. I think you can, for almost just about every single thing out there, you can use a regular rod as opposed to a spinning rod. Now, I'm not saying it's better. It's definitely probably not better in certain situations, especially like a drop shot. Drop shot, if you're just casting out there, it's fine. You could use a regular rod. But if you're going to drop straight down, there's no doubt that it's going to go down faster with the spinning rod. Like, that's an example. This is another example. The swim bait, the small swim bait, right? The swim bait like this, right? Just your regular old squadron head raid swimmer, okay? When this thing first came out, years and years and years ago, I thought it was stupid. I'm not gonna lie. I hated it. I didn't like it. I didn't really, and there was a reason. I had been fishing Rayburn a bunch, and I was throwing a swim jig like this. We're talking years and years ago. And I was throwing a swim jig a lot more than this. And I was like, wait a minute. I catch just as many on it. I can throw it in the grass. I can throw it around a lot of different things. It's not going to get hung up. It's just more versatile. That's what I thought. And for years I wouldn't say I was right, but I got away with it. How about that? I got away with it because the swim jig, really, people weren't throwing it like that. And I was like kind of one of the first ones that was really throwing it more like a swim bait and not like a swim jig. And that's really what that is. But that thing looks better, right? It looks more real. And eventually people caught on over the next couple years. It took them a while. But then the swim jig wasn't as good anymore. Like, it still catches them. But man, I was just out there throwing it, man, and catching some fish. So I eventually had to change. And when I did, it really happened on other lakes without grass. And I started seeing it more as an open water technique. Then I liked it. Then I looked up and I was throwing it everywhere, constantly. And we got around some smallmouth lakes. And I was still throwing it on a baitcaster. And still do, a lot, okay? Don't get me wrong, I do. And even when I made the top 10 at St. Clair, throwing it, on day 2, I broke out the small one, like the small one, like the little bitty head and the 2.75. I mean, that thing is little. In the second cast, I catch a 6 something on it, like one of my biggest smallmouths I've ever caught. Well, I never caught another fish on it that day on the very, very small one. And I was out there throwing it a little bit deeper water. And I went back to doing what I was normally doing. Now, the problem is this, is that I realized, like, it took me 2 casts. The first cast, I wasn't reeling it slow. The second cast, I did. That's what I'm going to show y'all. That's why I have I've put it in my arsenal where I'm going to have one on a spinning rod a lot. And I'm going to show you why. Because how I was catching them at St. Clair, I was making long cast and reeling it more like a swim bait. You can kind of almost crappie fish with it. Now, it's a little version of casting and crappie fishing with it, right? And what I mean by crappie fishing is so much more vertical. Now that live scope's around, you don't fish crappie as vertical anymore. Like, you kind of like get a little ways out. Well, the same thing with bass a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of show y'all, like, on certain days, right? On those, I would say they're bad fishing days. Real dead, real calm. It's just glass out there. They're pretty days, but fish get real just lethargic. That spinning rod kind of slows you down a little bit, and that's really what's going on. So let's take a look. So you can see I'm just kind of throwing it around, not really making long casts. Sometimes there's stumps, sometimes there's brush. You know, I'm just kind of looking around, sometimes just for fish. And here's what's crazy, like this one, I kind of was done with my cast. I was kind of reeling it in, and you know, so many of these fish hit stuff as it's coming up. That's kind of what went on here. But you can see how dead calm it is. It's a little early in the morning, but it's not like crazy early in the morning. It's probably like 9 o'clock. But I mean, as you can tell, it is glass out there. And it's just those kind of, the fish are out there, they're roaming, they're probably some schooling fish going on, but it's still dead. It's what I consider those dead days, man, where they're not really that active. And look, you know, same deal. I'm not really casting it that far. I'm just casting it just enough to get down there, and it's just slowly working, you know, down in front of their face. They're usually suspended, and that's usually why I'm doing it, right? Like if you start seeing that they're not on bottom, and like I said, I've seen a couple of them bust. Obviously, when it's like this, when it's real calm, they tend to bust a lot more, right? So they're not on bottom. They're kind of cruising around, and that's more or less when I'm trying to do it. That's when, if I was throwing and making a really long cast, I would just probably throw a bait caster. But you can watch, I mean, it's going down there, not crazy deep, but I am reeling it really, really slow. So it's a little bit later. I've caught a couple. You know, like I said, I can still cast that thing. That's the cool thing, is you can still cast it a mile. And once again, I'm just kind of reeling it down there. And I mean, but like when you get it around one's face like that, the smaller ones, the subtle ones, they tend to come from a long ways. And it's not just really crystal clear out here. It's pretty water, but I mean, they'll come get it. And it's really that smaller profile is sometimes what they want, especially like later on in the year when they're eating really small shad. That's when it's good, like really when they're busting on those shad like late in the year, and you'll catch good ones on it, guys. How about that? I don't even know what color that is. Pink ray swimmer. What is this? What color is this? Lavender? Does that say lavender shad? That's 2 on this thing. Let's see how good this thing is. All right, so here's the most important deal when rigging this up. Okay, and I'm basically talking about rigging up the bait. If you watch, I'm real meticulous about how to get it on there straight. I want to make sure I get it really straight. I put it on about 2/3 of the way. Get that super glue at Lowe's or anywhere. That super glue is great for everything, but especially this. So yeah, this is the best stuff, this Loctite. You can get this almost anywhere. This is all I ever use. Open that up. Okay, we'll rig one up real quick. So just get this braid swimmer. This is the 3.25. And that's the biggest key, is just getting it right in the middle. You just kind of have to figure it out a little bit, go about that much. make sure you, when I say the middle, you want to make sure you come out the middle right there. And it should sit on there fairly straight. I just put glue just a little bit right there. And when you push it on there, before you do, make sure that that line down that rage swimmer and everything lines up, and just kind of hold it there just for a second. It does it really quick, and that's it. I mean, that's it. I mean, it dries that quick. Like, it's ready. Like, it already won't come off. Like, that's what's pretty cool. I mean, you can see how much I'm pulling on it. That's it. That's on a squadron head. That's a baby squadron head. Okay, that's the baby squadron head with that hook. That's the short shank hook on the baby squadron head. I like to only throw those on pretty much 3.25 or smaller. I want to throw the baby one with the smaller hook shank, the shorter hook shank. I got it on a spinning rod. I kind of want a longer spinning rod, right? Just so I can cast longer. So 7.3 and above. You can go 7.6, 7.3, medium action. You don't really need to set the hook that hard on most of these because it's an open exposed hook. You're gonna get them. It's gonna be good. I got same deal. I pretty much do everything like this. 12-pound Sunline plasma. Okay. I get it in the green, in the bright green, with 8-pound sniper fluorocarbon. Same kind of leader. I just do like a 12-foot leader, and that's it. I got this one rigged up on the Pro TI speed stick, and this is, I just got this reel in. This is the Hypermag Speed Spool 200. Okay, I just got that reel in. I think that's the best spinning reel I've used from Moose so far. I think it's awesome. It's really simple, guys. Just got to go out there, throw it around a little bit. The lavender shed, I don't know. I just wanted to try something different, right? I kind of like it. It's almost pink, but it's pink. I don't know. I don't mind throwing pink. I mean, if I were already gonna throw a little sissy rod, might as well throw a little sissy bait. All right, let's take a look back at some more. You can see how slow I'm really having to reel. That thing's really not heavy, right? But they'll thump it pretty hard, and you'll catch some small ones. I get it. But the deal is that's why you want to throw light line, because you're trying to keep that bait down there. The heavier line, it really doesn't matter how heavy your squadron head is, in the sense of if you try to go to a heavier squadron head, it doesn't really keep it down there. It's more about your line size. So that's why I go with 8-pound test line. That's why the spinning rod kind of makes sense, because if it has to stay down there and stay at like a level, right? You got to think of it as you don't want it going up and down so much. Yes, they will hit it going up and down, but you really want to kind of get it on the same level as them. And so that 8-pound test line lets it stay down there despite how light it is. So once you get it down there, you just got to learn how to kind of slow it down a little bit. But I mean, once you get on them, they eat it pretty good. It's almost a lot like crappie fishing, which is pretty cool, because like, I mean, man, I love crappie fishing, and I probably need to do some more videos on crappie fishing. Another bad one. No lavender. I had a feeling this might be good. Like, this is my first time throwing this color. I had a feeling. So I'm pretty jacked up. I always like throwing a different color and it working, especially something that like kind of is out of the norm, right? I mean, you haven't really seen anybody talk about a lavender pinkish swim bait. Actually, I don't think I've seen anything on that. I might be wrong. Maybe I don't watch enough YouTube. Well, that's my swim bait video on whether or not to use the spinning rod or not over a bait caster. Try the spinning rod. If you're like me and you kind of like look at it, and I know it's embarrassing and everyone's gonna make fun of you and stuff, I get it, right? And I'll probably make fun of you too. But hey, that's all right. You can make fun of me. I'll out there throw it. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Anyways, hope this helps, guys. Good luck out there.